students, today we are going to discuss about Charter Acts. So what is Charter Act? What was the importance of Charter Act? What was the main aim of Charter Act? The main aim of Charter Act, that was the Charter Act was introduced after Regulating Act and Pitt's India Act. Other acts were introduced by British in India, that was Charter Act. So what was the main aim of Charter Act? The main aim of Charter Act was to renew the license of English East India Company. Renewal of the license of English East India Company, that is for 20 years. These Charter Acts that was introduced in India by the British government, the main aim of Charter Act was to renew the license of English East India Company. That is renewal for how many years? That is for 20 years. Then which are the important Charter Acts introduced by British government in India? The Charter Acts that was introduced in 1793, 1813, 1833 and 1853. Charter Act of 1793 to 1813. You can see the 20 years gap. And next one 1813 to 1833. Next 1833 to 1853. So in this way, the renewal of the license of English East India Company was the main aim of Charter Act. Among all these Charter Acts of 1793, Charter Act of 1813, Charter Act of 1833 and Charter Act of 1853, among all these Charter Acts, two Charter Acts were very important. That is, one is Charter Act of 1813 and Charter Act of 1833. Charter Act of 1813 and Charter Act of 1833 was very important compared to or among all these Charter Acts. Every 20 years, this Charter Act was renewed by the license of the British East India Company was renewed. Along with that, new rules and regulations were implemented along with the renewal of license of English East India Company. So some new rules and regulations were imposed every after 20 years. That was the main aim of Charter Acts. So now let us discuss about the Charter Act of 1830, because among all the Charter Acts, two Charter Acts were very important. That is, one is 1830 and one more is 1833. So let us discuss about the Charter Act of 1830. What were the important features or the aspects of Charter Act of 1830? So the first one, this Act, Charter Act of 1830, that Act licensed the English East India Company to stay in India for another 20 years. Very important feature of Charter Act of 1830. So it had given the license to British East India Company for what? To stay in India and to conduct trade with Indian territories or Indian countries for another 20 years. That was the first and main feature of Charter Act of 1830. The second important feature of Charter Act of 1813, there was before the implementation of Charter Act of 1813, there was a system that was a demand to allow any interested traders or the person to carry out trade in India. Any person who were interested to carry out trade in India with the British trade or the trade companies with Indian companies, so it was allowed. So the same system was continued according to Charter Act of 1830. Means any person who were interested to carry out trade in India, he could continue his trade activities in India, but it was authorized by British government. So that was the one more feature of Charter Act of 1830. So there was, before the implementation of Act, there was a demand of the trade for any person who were interested to carry out trade in India. Same thing was continued, but the authority was taken by whom? Taken by the British government. Third important feature of Charter Act of 1830, a new era was started. New era of what? That is, new era of license and authorization. So new era or new year, what we call it as new India was started with the introduction of Charter Act of 1813. That is nothing but the new era of license and authorization started after the implementation of Charter Act of 1813. So next, the Board of Directors. Again, the Board of Directors were appointed. These the Board of Directors were vested with the power to appoint Governor General and the Commander-in-Chief. The Board of Directors once again appointed by British government, and these Board of Directors are given the power to appoint Governor General and Commander-in-Chief in India to look after the administration of India and to look after the military affairs. Here these two posts were appointed, that is, one is Governor General and one more is a Commander-in-Chief. That was one more important feature of the Charter Act of 1830. Next, the fourth important feature of Charter Act of 1830 was the churches. That is, Christian churches were allowed to enter India officially. The churches were given the permission to enter India officially. So they were directed, that is, to enrich the knowledge and enhance the moral and spiritual life of Indians. They had given the power to direct to enrich, to develop the knowledge of Indians and to enhance the values. What kind of values? Moral and spiritual values among Indians. In this way, churches were allowed to enter India officially. With this, many Christian missionaries arrived in India, and along with that, expansion of Christianity and English education was also started or taking place along with the Charter Act of 1830. So here churches came to India and established many schools or the missionaries or schools, and their main intention was to impart knowledge to the people and also to enhance that values like moral and spiritual values. With this, there was an expansion of Christianity as well as English education was took place in India. So this is about the Charter Act of 1813. Once again, I will repeat the important features. So Charter Act of 1813. The first one, this act was mainly because given importance for the renewal of license of English East India Company for another 20 years. So it gave the permission for English East India Company to stay in India for another 20 years. That was the first feature. Second one is permission was given to conduct trade with any person, whoever interested to carry out trade in India was allowed to carry out trade in India. A new era of license and authorization was started. Third one, the Board of Directors was vested with the power to appoint Governor General and Commander-in-Chief. Next, churches were allowed to enter India officially, and also with this, the expansion of Christianity and English education was started. That is about the Charter Act of 1830. Next, about the Charter Act of 1833. Then what are the features of Charter Act of 1833? The first and foremost important feature of Charter Act of 1833, because this Charter Act was also introduced to renew the license of East India Company, that is for next 20 years. The main aim of all the Charter Acts like Charter Act of 1873, 1830, 1833 and 1850, all the Charter Acts main aim, that was renewal of the license, that is for the 20 years. Again the same, whatever the aim of this Charter Act was also same, but the features were different. The features of 1813 Charter Act was different. The features of Charter Act of 1833 was different. Then what were the features of Charter Act of 1833? The first important feature of Charter Act of 1833 was the Governor General of Bengal was declared as the Governor General of India. Governor General of Bengal was declared or named as the Governor General of India. That was the first important feature this is very important, the important feature of Charter Act, the Governor General of Bengal. Earlier during regulating act, the Governor General of Bengal had got the control over other two presidencies like Madras and one more is Bombay. Again same thing was repeated here. The Governor General of Bengal was declared as the Governor General of India. Next, second, the Governor General vested the powers to direct. The Governor General of India had given the power to deal with the or to vested the powers to direct, control and supervise all trades in India. Many trading companies came to India, especially British trade companies, to supervise, to direct and to control all these trade companies was the main responsibility of a Governor General of India. That was one more provision or the feature or the aspect of Charter Act of 1833. Here the Governor General vested the powers to direct, control and supervise all trades in India. That was the second important feature. Next, the central government of Bengal had the final right to decide issues like war, peace and diplomatic relationship with the princely states. One more power had given to the central government of Bengal. So central government of Bengal had final right or the final right to decide some of the issues. The issues like or the matters related to war. Any wars related to the war or declaring war or concluding war, whatever, that decision was taken by the central government of Bengal. Then about the peace. After war, next comes that is agreement or the peace. In order to end the war, peace was very important. That also the decision taken by the central government of Bengal. And diplomatic relationship, to develop good relationship, healthy relationship with other princely states of India. Many princely states were there in India. So all these princely states were the main duty of a central government of Bengal. Here to deal with the matters or issues like war, peace and diplomatic relationship with the princely states, especially about the princely states of India was the main responsibility of the central government of Bengal. Next, the Governor General was mandated, made it compulsory to put his difference of opinion with the executive committee members in writing. If any issues related to any issues, if they occur, difference of opinions among executive committee, that is between executive committee and the Governor General, then he had, that is mandated, the Governor General was mandated, it's compulsory, he had to put his opinion in writing, not in a words but in a writing. That was the one more provision on the future, because here he had the right to tell about his opinion related to any issues. If whenever he about his opinion, if the difference was occurred that was opposed by the executive members of the executive committee, then he had to write in a letter or in a written form and to submit to the British government. That was the one more feature. Next, this act, the Act of 1833, that is Charter Act of 1833, banned discrimination, that is based on religion, birth and skin color. No discrimination according to this act. It would not allow any type of discrimination in India, because there was a discrimination was existed in India based on the religion, based on birth and also based on the skin color, white and the black. So this was completely banned according to the Charter Act of 1833. So no discrimination related to or based on religion, birth and skin color. So it was completely banned by Charter Act of 1833. Next, the Governor General had the right or mandated to appoint law professional to his executive committee. Executive committee means working committee of the Governor General. He had the right to appoint law professional to his executive committee. So he had given full power to appoint law professionals to his executive committee. That is one more feature. The last one is all British companies, trading companies. British companies means all British trading companies were allowed to trade in India. So all the British companies, without any discrimination, all British companies were allowed to trade in India, to carry out trade relationship with India. So this also allowed according to the Charter Act of 1833. So this Charter Act of 1833 completely given importance for the internal affairs for the situation, political situation of India, and also about the situation of England or the British government related to the government of England. So once again I will repeat important features of the Charter Act of 1833. So here the first one, Governor General of Bengal declared as the Governor General of India. Next, the Governor General vested with the power to deal with or to direct, control and supervise all trades, all trading companies in India. Next, the central government of Bengal had the final right to decide the issues like war, peace and diplomatic relationship with the princely states. The Governor General was always, he had the right to put his opinion, that is difference of opinion against the executive committee. That was in a written form. Next, the act was completely banned discrimination based on religion, then skin color and birth. Last, the Governor General appointed, that was had right to appoint law professional to his executive committee. Last one is all the British companies gave permission to carry out trade or develop trade relationship with India or Indian trade companies. So this much about the Charter Act of 1833. Here the British government implemented many Charter Acts, that is Charter Act of 1893, 1793, 1813, 1833 and 1853. Among all these Charter Acts, 1833 was very important. The main reason of implementation of Charter Act was to renew the license of English East India Company, that is for 20 years. 20 years, and along with the 20 years, new year, there was a changes in rules and regulations of the license for the East India Company. So this much about Charter Act. Dear students, today we are going to discuss about Acts. Acts introduced by the British government in India. So that is about the British government acts. British introduced or implemented many acts in India, that is from 1858 to 1947. From 1858 to 1947, many acts were introduced by British government in India. That act was famously called as the British Government Acts. Then why did British introduce or implement these acts? The very important event was took place in the year 1857. What was the importance of 1857? So 1857, that is the outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny or the first war of Indian independence. So in detail we will study about the first war of Indian independence in separate lesson, but here only the reason, the main, what is the background related to the introduction of this act, that is outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny. The mutiny was broke out in the year 1857. Then the main reason for the outbreak of 1857 revolt are also called as Sepoy Mutiny, and Indian scholars called it as the first war of Indian independence. The main reason was maladministration by the British government. Maladministration by the British East India Company and the implementation of various acts, that is from 1857 onwards. British government implemented many acts, that is in 1857, that is before 1857 was also the reason for the outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny. So finally, after the Sepoy Mutiny, the Queen of England, Queen Victoria of England took over the power or the administration of India from East India Company, and she announced or proclaimed or introduced an act or implemented act, that is 1858 Act. From 1858 to 1947, many acts were introduced by British government in India. That is, one is 1858 India Act, then 1861 India Council Act, 1892, that is one more Indian Council Act, 1909 Act, 1919 Act, 1935 Act, various important acts that was introduced in India or implemented in India by the British government. So let us discuss about all these acts one by one. So first about the Indian Government Act of 1858. So what is the importance of Indian Government Act of 1858? Who implemented this act? Here, as I said earlier, the reason was Sepoy Mutiny. The outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny, that is in the year 1857. So after the Sepoy Mutiny, here that is Queen Victoria of England cancelled the license of British East India Company, and she announced or proclamation, famously called as Queen Victoria's Proclamation, that is taken in the year November 1st, 1858, famously called as Queen Victoria's Proclamation or Queen's Proclamation or Queen's Announcement. Proclamation means announcement. So here Queen Victoria announced that all-round development of India was the responsibility of British government in India. That's why an act was passed, an act was implemented. That act was famously called as Indian Government Act of 1858. Then what are the important features of this Indian Government Act of 1858? So what was the reason for the implementation of 1858 Act? The main reason, the outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny. So after the outbreak of Sepoy Mutiny, the reason was maladministration by the British East India Company. The power of British East India Company was taken by the British Queen, and here the whole India came under the control of or the direct rule of Queen Victoria or the Queen of England. And here she declared or announced all-round development of India by the British government, that is famously called as Queen's Proclamation or Queen's Announcement, that is in the year 1858. So then what are the important features of 1858 Act? So first one, the license of East India Company was cancelled. The beginning many charter acts were passed in India, as we discussed about that is 1813, 1833. Among all the charter acts, 1813 and 1833 was very important. So the main reason for the implementation of Charter Act was that is renewal of license of British East India Company in India. That is to give an order for the British East India Company or the permission for British East India Company to stay in India for another 20 years. So till 1853. Charter Act was passed in 1853. Finally, this license was cancelled in the year 1858 after Sepoy Mutiny and after the announcement of Queen Victoria of England. So here the license of East India Company was cancelled and India brought directly, that is under direct administration of Queen of England. So before, the British government controlled India with the help of British East India Company. Now British East India Company came to India in the year 1600. That is established in the year 1600. Now from 1600 to 1857, India was under the control of British East India Company. For the first time, the license of East India Company was cancelled by British government. The reason, their maladministration in India. So the first feature, the license of East India Company was cancelled and India brought under direct administration of Queen of England. That is Queen, during that period Queen was Queen Victoria. Next, one more development, one more change was took place, that is the post of Governor General was cancelled. The post of Governor General was cancelled or changed and it was introduced a new post called as Viceroy. So earlier General, after General, then Governor General post was introduced. After Governor General, next that is same post was changed into Viceroy. Then who was the first Viceroy of India? Lord Canning. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy of India. After the Queen's proclamation in the year 1858 or the announcement in the year 1858, here the post of Governor General was changed and changed into Viceroy. And who was the first Viceroy? That is Lord Canning was appointed as the first Viceroy or the British Viceroy in India. So before that, from 1848 to 1856, from 1848 to 1856 was Lord Dalhousie was the Governor General of India. And later, that is in the year 1857, during that period, the Governor General of India was Charles Canning. So the same post was changed into, that is Viceroy, the post of Viceroy. Next, that is the first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning. Very, very important question. Next, what was the third important feature of this act? New post, along with the Viceroy, one more post was created, that is new post called Secretary of State for India, created in the British government. Secretary for State for India, created in the British government, was responsible for administration. Here one more post was created, that is nothing but Secretary of State for India. To support Viceroy, one more post was created, Secretary of the State for India. See, here two posts were created, very, very important. That is first one, Viceroy. Governor General post was cancelled or changed into Viceroy. In order to support Viceroy, one more post was created called as Secretary of State for India. So this post was created by the British government in India. He was a member of British Cabinet. That is, Secretary of State for India was a member of British Cabinet or British Parliament, was responsible for administration in India. So here Secretary was mainly responsible for the administration in India and he assists whom? He support whom? He support Viceroy in all the administrative activities in India. That is one more feature of 1858 Act. And last one more post, that is a Council of India was created. Here Secretary of State for India was created and one more is a Council of India was created. Then what was the reason for the creation of this council? This council had contained total 15 members to support or to assist Secretary in India in administration. So the main reason, assist Secretary in India related to the administration of India. That was the main reason for the creation of one more post called as a council. So here three changes took place in British administration. Before, not three, here four changes. First one, British East India Company's license was cancelled after 1858 proclamation. Here the license of British East India Company was cancelled. That is one change. And one more is the post of Governor General was changed into Viceroy. And third, one more post was created called as Secretary of State for India. And one more change, that is a council was appointed with the 15 members. So these changes took place after India, that is in the year 1858. Once again I repeat India Act. That is first one, the license of East India Company was cancelled and India brought under direct administration of Queen Victoria of England. Second, the post of Governor General was changed into Viceroy. The first Viceroy or the British Viceroy in India was Lord Canning. Next, a new post called Secretary of State for India was created. The reason, in order to establish or assist Governor General in the administration. He was a member of British Cabinet. And one more, that is a council was appointed with the 15 members to assist administration along with the Secretary of State for India. So this is about the India Act of 18